1998, the PlayStation's golden era. While developers delivered instant classics, one ambitious licensed game was in development but vanished without a trace. A 3D platforming adventure starring MTV's most notorious animated duo that promised character-switching gameplay, movie set mayhem, and Mike Judge approved chaos. Imagine controlling both Beavis and Butthead, switching between them to solve puzzles, distract NPCs, and cause maximum destruction across Hollywood soundstages. Navigate bizarre movie sets from Godzilla productions to western towns. Experience cooperative mechanics. Unlock hidden jobs and environmental interactions. All wrapped in authentic MTV attitude, voiced by Mike Judge himself. This was New Level Software's attempt at pushing the PlayStation's capabilities during the license-to-game boom, delivering 3D character models, expansive explorable environments, and dual character gameplay when platformers dominated the industry. A game that received magazine previews, E3 demonstrations, and publisher backing before mysteriously disappearing from release schedules. But what happened to this nearly finished adventure? Why did it vanish after being 80% complete? And what secrets do these recently discovered prototype builds reveal about the PlayStation's lost treasures? Today we're diving deep into Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood, discovering the fascinating development story, tragic cancellation, and recent preservation efforts that finally brought this lost game back from oblivion. Released? Well, it wasn't. But you'd picked up gaming magazines between mid-1998 and early 1999. You'd have seen tantalising previews of Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood, an ambitious 3D platformer developed by New Level Software and published by GT Interactive, also responsible for Career Crisis, that promised to bring MTV's controversial duo to PlayStation in spectacular fashion. This wasn't just another cheap licensed cash grab, this was genuinely ambitious. A full 3D platformer featuring character switching mechanics, diverse Hollywood movie set environments, puzzle solving gameplay, and Mike Judge's authentic voice work. A spiritual successor to Beavis and Butthead Do America, combining platforming action with the duo's trademark destructive humour. The creative vision was interesting. Instead of delivering safe 2D side-scrolling mechanics like previous Beavis and Butthead games on the Sega Mega Drive and Super Nintendo, New Level Software crafted full 3D adventures, designed dual character gameplay inspired by the Lost Vikings, built expansive movie set environments, and secured Mike Judge's involvement for authentic character representation. This was serious creative ambition during the PlayStation's licensed game explosion, exactly the kind of innovative adaptation that could have defined how cartoon properties translated to 3D gaming. And then it vanished completely. By February 1999, after previews in Electronic Gaming Monthly and Game Informer, the game disappeared from release schedules without explanation. No official cancellation announcement, just silence, leaving confused gamers wondering what happened to this promising licensed adventure. Until now, thanks to dedicated preservation efforts and the incredible work of various websites, of various platforms, multiple prototype builds have surfaced, revealing this fascinating, troubled, ultimately tragic story of what could have been the PlayStation's definitive Beavis and Butthead experience. The premise was perfectly on brand for the characters. Following the success of Beavis and Butthead Do America, our heroes find themselves broke in Hollywood. Their movie paychecks got mailed to their parents' houses back home. Classic oversight perfectly suited to these perpetual, confused protagonists. Rather than sensibly figuring out how to get home, Beavis and Butthead sign up with a local temp agency for quick cash, taking odd jobs across various Hollywood movie sets. This setup brilliantly justified gameplay variety. Different movie productions meant widely different environments, challenges, and opportunities for chaos. The game's structure divided gameplay between main story stages and bonus rounds. You'd explore Hollywood sound stages, including Godzilla monster movies, western towns, topic locations, and general Hollywood sets, each offering unique environmental interactions, puzzles requiring both characters, and opportunities for trademark destruction. What made the concept special was the character switching mechanic. You didn't just control one character, you actively controlled both Beavis and Butthead, switching between them to manipulate objects, distract NPCs, push environmental elements, and solve puzzles requiring coordination. Think the Lost Vikings meets platforming adventure, filtered through MTV's irreverent humour. The script and voice work came from Mike Judge himself. While MTV's writing staff showed minimal enthusiasm during development meetings, Judge approved storyboards, provided character voices, and supported the team's creative vision. This was authentic Beavis and Butthead, not some developer's approximation, but genuine Judge-blessed content. The ambition was genuinely impressive for 1998. New Level Software aimed beyond simple movie tie-ins, creating an original adventure that captured the series' spirit, while delivering substantial gameplay variety and mechanical innovation. If you are enjoying the video so far, be sure to subscribe and leave a like or hype the video so that I can reach more retro gaming enthusiasts who also enjoy this type of content. And also be sure to check out my Patreon page where you'll gain access to exclusive content and member only live streams that will bring even more PS1 content to you if you're interested in supporting the channel, and it would be awesome if you do. From mid to late 1998 development, PlayStation's technical maturity period, the prototype builds showcase what ambitious developers achieved through creative optimization and artistic vision. The character models demonstrated impressive personality translation to 3D. Beavis and Butthead's distinct designs, angular faces, exaggerated proportions, signature clothing translated remarkably well into the polygon form. The animation work captured their characteristic movements, awkward walking, distinctive postures, recognizable gestures. These weren't generic 3D platformer protagonists, they were unmistakably Beavis and Butthead in 3 dimensions. The environmental variety showed genuine creative ambition. Multiple Hollywood movie sets offered distinct visual themes. Godzilla production featuring monster movie aesthetics, western level delivering frontier town atmosphere, Tar Pits location providing prehistoric settings, general Hollywood area showcasing studio backlot environments. Each sounding featured appropriate architectural designs, environmental props, and thematic consistency. The game utilised interesting textures for environmental detail, an interesting technical choice providing visual richness while managing the PlayStation's memory limitations. The texturing approach created reasonable surface details on sets, objects, and environmental features, though this contributed to performance challenges in more complex areas. The level design emphasised exploration and interaction. Multi-level structures encouraged vertical navigation. Environmental objects telegraphed interactive environments. Puzzle solutions required observing surroundings and understanding character abilities. The spatial design supported both individual character movement and cooperative puzzle-solving mechanics. Camera implementation followed early 3D platformer conventions, sometimes helpful, occasionally problematic. The perspective generally framed action effectively during standard gameplay, though complex environments created occasional visibility issues. Manual camera adjustment existed, but reflected era-appropriate control limitations rather than modern refinement. If you play this prototype, you'll see that the camera is one of its biggest issues, as it's very hard to get familiar with. Performance varied significantly across builds and environments. Earlier prototypes showed more stable frame rates in simpler areas. Later builds with more complex geometry and effects demonstrated a noticeable slowdown, particularly in levels requiring various RAM expansions. This performance inconsistency reflected ongoing optimization challenges when development halted. The visual presentation, while impressive for licensed game ambitions, revealed the team's acknowledged struggle with 3D development and the PlayStation hardware itself. The artistic vision clearly existed, execution meant technical limitations the more development time might have addressed. The audio design revealed interesting creative choices driven by development constraints and resource limitations. The most significant audio element, Mike Judge's voice work, provided authentic character representation. Beavis and Butthead's distinctive vocalizations, signature laughs, and characteristic dialogue brought genuine personality to the 3D models. The game featured controllable speech similar to Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, allowing players to trigger character-specific comments and reactions contextually. The voice implementation added interactive dimension to character switching mechanics. You could make Beavis and Butthead speak, react, or comment through player input, enhancing personality beyond scripted sequences, and creating emergent comedic moments through player experimentation. The music selection demonstrated creative problem solving born from necessity. Since the game never progressed far enough to hire a composer, the development team implemented stand-in soundtracks matching their desired energy and tone. Interestingly, most builds featured heavy metal music, and the exact reasoning behind these track selections remains unclear from developer interviews. Regardless, the aggressive metal soundtrack perfectly complemented Beavis and Butthead's anarchic energy and destructive gameplay. This placeholder music created unexpectedly fitting atmosphere. The heavy guitar riffs, driving rhythms, and intense energy matched the duo's chaotic adventures perfectly. While surely intended for replacement with license or custom compositions, the audio tracks available within the prototype gave it a distinct identity. Sound effects implementation remained somewhat basic across builds. Environmental sounds, character actions, interactive elements producing appropriate feedback. The audio design served functional purposes without achieving polish, reflecting the game's incomplete development state. The overall audio presentation combined authentic voice work with aggressive musical accompaniment, creating foundations that support the gameplay while reminding players this remained work in progress rather than a finished product. The prototype builds reveal ambitious gameplay vision, struggling against technical limitations and incomplete development. The core mechanic, dual character control with switching, formed the foundation of puzzle solving and exploration. Players used the select button to swap between Beavis and Butthead, allowing strategic positioning, environmental manipulation, and coordinated actions. One character could distract NPCs while the other progressed. One could push objects while the other activated switches. One could reach areas the other unlocked. This cooperative single-player design drew clear inspiration from games of the past, using character differentiation and switching mechanics to create puzzle scenarios impossible with single protagonists. The implementation, while functional in prototypes, never achieved the refinement that more development time might have provided. The movement and interaction felt appropriately weighty for character personalities, while maintaining platforming responsiveness. However, the controls reflected work in progress states, functional but requiring refinement for commercial release. Combat remained basic across available builds. Punching, headbutting, and context-sensitive attacks provided offensive options. Notably, attacking your CPU-controlled partner character resulted in retaliation until losing a life. Amusing detail, reflecting the duo's antagonistic relationship while discouraging friendly fire. The puzzle design emphasised environmental observation and character cooperation. Stages featured objectives requiring understanding spatial relationships, manipulating objects in sequence, and coordinating both characters' abilities. The complexity varied significantly. Some sections showed well-developed puzzle logic, while others contained placeholder interactions awaiting implementation. Environmental interactions form major gameplay components. Certain objects responded to headbutts, revealing collectibles, or activating mechanisms. Interactive elements telegraphed through visual design that encouraged experimentation. The level of interactive depth varied considerably across different builds and stages. The game physics operated in primitive states, requiring additional work. Object collision, character movement, and environmental interactions functioned, but they lacked polish. This functional incompleteness contributed to the rough gameplay feel that you will see within these prototype builds. The difficulty balancing remained unresolved. Some sections presented reasonable challenges, while others felt very frustrating. This inconsistency reflected ongoing development rather than deliberate design choices. Level objectives also existed in various completion states. Some stages featured clear goals with progression paths, others contained remnants of preliminary ideas without full implementation. Some of the levels in question, with the Western and Hollywood stages, wouldn't be accessible without some coding workarounds that indicated incomplete integration. The progression structure divided between main stages and bonus rounds. The bonus stage content remained largely undefined across available builds. The overall campaign length and pacing couldn't be properly assessed given the incomplete state of the game. The second controller offered interesting functionality that could act as a photo mode for capturing gameplay angles, explaining the unusual perspectives in magazine preview screenshots. This creative use of the second controller demonstrated developer ingenuity while highlighting the game's unfinished nature. The gameplay vision clearly aimed high, delivering character switching puzzles, environmental exploration, combat variety, and the trademark Beavis and Butthead humour. The execution frozen at approximately 40% completion that showed a promising foundation requiring substantial additional development. Despite never reaching commercial release, Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood represent a remarkable creative ambition during the PlayStation's licensed game era. The 3D platforming approach for licensed property was genuinely bold for 1998. While many developers delivered safe 2D side-scrollers or simple 3D conversions of established formulas, New Level Software attempted a fully realised 3D adventure with innovative mechanics and environmental variety. This creative courage elevated the project beyond typical movie tie-in territory. The character switching mechanics offer genuine interesting gameplay, drawing inspiration from games like The Lost Vikings, while adapting concepts for MTV's Chaotic Duo, created a unique identity separating this from the standard licensed platformers. Cooperative single-player design rewarded strategic thinking and character coordination. The Hollywood movie set premise provided perfect frameworks for environmental variety. Each production type justified completely different visual themes, puzzle types, and interactive elements. This structure prevented repetitive level design while staying true to the character's narrative setup. The Mike Judge involvement ensured authentic character representation. Having series creators approve storyboards, provide voice work, and support creative vision meant this wasn't a generic licensed product. This was genuine Beavis and Butthead content translated to interactive mediums. The development team's passion showed through despite technical struggles. The developers fought to make a full 3D game despite the limitations, and they were even originally convinced during the early stages to abandon the 2.5D approach, which was part of its initial design, and pursued creative vision when simpler options existed. This dedication to ambition over safety deserves recognition. The PlayStation exclusive focus demonstrated platform commitment during a competitive period. Rather than developing for multi-platform releases, the team concentrated efforts on maximising the PlayStation's capabilities, showing the platform dedication that made the console's library so diverse and interesting. The game represented an important moment in license adaptation evolution. While it didn't succeed commercially, the creative approach, building original adventure, honouring source material rather than simply recreating cartoon episodes, showed how licenses could inspire innovation rather than limit creativity. The preservation value extends beyond gameplay. These prototypes document the late 90s development processes and show what small studios attempted with major licenses and represent creative ambitions during the PlayStation's competitive landscape. Historical artifacts like these provide invaluable windows into gaming's transitional periods. Despite the creative vision and development passion, Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood faced overwhelming obstacles that prevented completion. The technical inexperience proved devastating. As developers themselves admitted, despite pushing for 3D games, the team had limited 3D development experience and PlayStation hardware knowledge. This fundamental gap made every aspect of development harder than anticipated. Engine creation, optimization, asset production, and gameplay implementation all struggled against the learning curve. The financial constraints created impossible situations. New Level Software wasn't working on many new projects during the development period. An earlier cancellation of a Sega Saturn port of another game likely impacted finances significantly. The studio appeared to rely heavily on GT Interactive payments for Beavis and Butthead to stay operational. The publisher's difficulties compounded financial problems. GT Interactive repeatedly moved the development goalposts without additional compensation. This shifting target situation strained an already struggling studio further, delivering work meeting new requirements without resources to support expanded scope. The development timeline proved insufficient. Evidence suggests the project received less than a full year of actual development time. Creating an ambitious 3D platformer with character switching mechanics, multiple environments, and licensed character implementation in under 12 months was an unrealistic expectation. The competing project diverted resources critically. Summer of 1998, New Level shifted its focus to other projects, attempting to secure much needed funding and a major franchise contract. This priority change stalled Beavis and Butthead's development significantly. Work that might have reached completion instead waited while the team pursued other opportunities. Without high budgets, the studio ran out of funds, and New Level was shut down at the tail end of 1998, and Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood would become collateral damage of a larger business failure. The approval complications late in development damaged morale and viability. After Mike Judge initially approved the storyboards early in production, GT Interactive later rejected some over copyright infringement concerns, particularly Hollywood sign-in stages. Losing conceptually complete levels tied directly to the game's Hollywood premise represented a devastating setback. The GT Interactive reluctance about the 3D approach created ongoing tension. The publisher apparently never fully committed to the 3D game concept, preferring safer 2.5D implementation with lower cost and risk. The fundamental disagreement meant constant goalpost moving and reduced support throughout development. The MTV involvement proved minimal despite the license. While Mike Judge supported the project personally, MTV's writing staff showed notable disinterest during pitch meetings. One developer recalled they did not seem like a very happy bunch and appeared happy just getting free lunch. The lack of collaborative support from license holders limited creative resources available. The February 1999 EGM preview listed the game as 40% complete, significantly lower than October 1998 Games Informer's 80% complete assessment. This regression revealed development moving backward rather than forward, likely reflecting the shifted focus onto other projects and even facing the technical problems within the game itself. The performance issues plagued later builds, slowdown to crawls in many areas, levels requiring expansion to run, primitive physics and controls all needed substantial additional work. Even if funding continued, significant development time would have been required to achieve commercial quality. The incomplete gameplay systems meant most levels lacked defined objectives. Puzzles remained partially implemented, environmental interactions existed in preliminary states, and overall game flow couldn't properly be evaluated. This fundamental incompleteness extended beyond typical late development polish. Core systems needed completion. From a technical perspective, the prototype demonstrates both impressive ambition and sobering limitations of inexperienced teams tackling complex 3D development. The 3D character models showed solid personality translation despite polygon limitations. Beavis and Butthead's distinctive designs survived conversion to 3D geometry reasonably well, maintaining visual recognition and character essence. The modelling work demonstrated artistic skill even when technical execution struggled. The animation system maintained character movement personality across various actions. Walking, jumping, ducking, attacking, and context-specific animations captured the duo's physical comedy and awkward mannerisms. While not achieving fluid perfection, the animation quality supported character identity effectively. The environmental design created believably scaled movie set pieces and spaces. Multi-level structures, interactive objects, themed decorations, and spatial layouts suggest a genuine thought about exploration and puzzle solving within 3D space. The level architecture well completed showed understanding of 3D platforming principles. The dual character switching implementation worked functionally, despite rough edges. The CPU control partner followed reasonably well. The switching occurred reliably, and basic coordination mechanics operated as intended. This core system provided a foundation that additional development could have refined substantially. You would see some of these elements play out in some of the later levels, where there's one particular sequence where you can mount a golf cart, and the other character will also jump into a cart too, and you'll find yourself racing around a lot, where the other character will literally follow you at every corner or every turn. So in a way it's a good laugh, but it can become a bit monotonous over a while because the computer controlled character uses the same exact inputs that you use. So you can see that it was pretty much inconsistent. The other character didn't really have a mind of its own, and this would result in the collision detection which operated inconsistently. Character environment interaction, object collision and platforming precision all showed work in progress states. The fundamental system required significant additional development for commercial viability. The load times and transitions between areas functioned but showed optimization needs. Load duration, transition smoothness and memory management all reflected ongoing technical work rather than finalized implementation. The overall technical achievement represented respectable effort from a team learning 3D development in real time. The prototype showed genuine progress toward viable games, just not enough progress given time and resource constraints before its cancellation. The game's disappearance created a mystery lasting over 2 decades. After the February 1999 EGM preview, Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood simply vanished. No official cancellation announcement from GT Interactive, no developer interviews, no explanation in the gaming press. The title disappeared from release schedules without a trace, leaving confused readers wondering what happened to the previewed game. GT Interactive's broader house cleaning during this period claimed multiple projects. The publisher apparently decided to cut losses across various console titles, and Beavis and Butthead became casualties of larger business restructuring. New Level Software's closure ended any possibility of project completion. Without studio funding, without publisher support, the game exists only as prototype builds on developers' hard drives, assuming those drives survived company shutdowns. For years the game lived only in memories of gamers who read magazine previews, scattered screenshots, preserved only by archives. E3 1998 footage exists on YouTube, but received minimal attention. The game became a footnote in the PlayStation's history, an interesting what if rather than a playable reality. Then preservation efforts changed everything. Multiple platforms and communities that are dedicated to bringing games back to life are receiving incredible contributions and finding ways to locate and rebuild these hidden prototypes to make them playable in the modern era. These preservation efforts extended beyond just the game's history, as there is now documented development to showcase various prototypes being in active reconstruction, even with a lot of other known or lesser known games also gaining access to new updated versions with patches so that you can play the games now in English languages, as a lot of these games would have only been released in Japan and in regions that are unknown to many. The historical context has transformed a lot of these prototypes from curiosities to valuable documentation of game development realities. This preserved build will run on emulators and modified PlayStation hardware, allowing modern players to experience this lost adventure decades after cancellation. While it's incomplete and rough, the prototypes offer fascinating glimpses into what could have been a highlight, but also showcases the brutal realities facing small studios that are pursuing ambitious licensed projects. But the preservation work of these prototypes do continue through various communities that are updating technical documentation and historical research. Dedicated enthusiasts are examining these builds, their contents, document differences between versions, and are able to preserve contextual information, ensuring that these artifacts remain accessible and understood by future players. If you are considering experiencing these prototypes today through digital means, there is ways around them, but they do need specific elements to get them up and running. But once they do, don't expect anything to be of a finished state, as it is still a work in progress, but also showcases the development stages of where they were at back in the day. The character switching mechanic shows promise despite implementation roughness. The CPU control partner follows reasonably well, but can get in the way. Cooperative puzzle concepts emerge through experimental play. The foundations do exist, but requires imagination to envision a polished version. The environmental variety provides the most interesting aspect of the prototype's exploration. Each movie set offers a distinct visual theme and atmosphere. Godzilla production feels appropriately monster movie. Western towns capture frontier aesthetics. The artistic vision comes through despite technical limitations. The voice work adds genuine personality. Mike Judge's Beavis and Butthead vocalizations bring authentic character energy. The controllable speech system creates amusing moments through player experimentation and interaction. This represents the most polished aspect of the preserved builds. The puzzle implementation varies widely in completion states. Some sections show clear objectives and logical solutions, others present confusing scenarios with unclear goals. The inconsistency reflects frozen development rather than finished designs. The performance issues also become immediately apparent, but these technical problems remind players constantly that they were experiencing an unfinished software. The completion percentage does feel accurate to the previews way back in 1999. The environmental variety shows character implementation works fundamentally, but endless refinement, optimization, content completion and polish would be required for commercial release. These prototypes demonstrate why the game needed substantial additional development. The historical value far exceeds gameplay quality. These builds document the PlayStation era development processes and show what small studios attempted with major licenses, reveal business pressures facing contractors and preserve creative vision despite commercial failure. Playing them provides educational experience about the game development reality, rather than entertainment experiences. The preservation quality deserves recognition, and thanks to various communities online, it can now happen. Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood exemplifies why game preservation and lost media recovery matter beyond nostalgia or curiosity. For licensed game history, it represents an important creative ambition moment. While the industry was filled with cheap movie tie-ins and cash grab adaptations, New Level Software pursued a genuinely innovative approach. Character switching mechanics, environmental variety, and authentic creative collaboration. The game showed licensed properties could inspire interesting design rather than restrict creativity to tired formulas. The small studio reality check provides valuable historical documentation. These prototypes combined with developer interviews reveal brutal economics facing independent contractors pursuing ambitious projects. Publisher difficulties, competing priorities, financial constraints, timeline pressures and business failures all contribute to cancellation. This human story transcends specific games. It documents systematic industry challenges affecting countless developers. The technical ambition versus capability tension teaches important lessons. New Level Software's reach exceeded grasp. They wanted to create something special but lacked experience and resources to achieve vision within constraints. This common development story usually disappears with cancelled projects. They preserve builds and candid interviews, ensure this educational example survives. For the PlayStation library understanding, it adds valuable context to the platform's licensed game landscape. While classics like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot and Oddworld define the PlayStation's platforming elements, countless ambitious projects like Beavis and Butthead attempted to join their ranks but fell short. Understanding what didn't ship, alongside what did, provides a complete picture of the platform's competitive environment. The preservation precedent demonstrates the community's power to recover lost history. This successful preservation effort encourages others to come forward with unreleased games, development materials and historical documentation. The MTV license connection adds cultural significance beyond gaming. Beavis and Butthead defined the 1990s MTV animation and youth culture. A PlayStation game starring these characters represents the intersection of multiple entertainment mediums during specific cultural moments. Preserving this artifact maintains broader pop culture history beyond just video games. The incomplete state actually increases historical value in some ways. Rather than experiencing polished final products, we see development frozen mid-process, revealing creative decisions, technical struggles, and workflow realities, usually hidden by completion. The prototype builds function as a development time capsule. The developer's honesty during interviews provides a rare transparent account of project failure, rather than defensive excuses or vague experimentations. New Level Software staff openly discuss their mistakes, inexperience, and overwhelming challenges. This makes the historical records more valuable. We learn from both successes and failures when failures receive honest examination. Over 25 years after development, and over 2 decades since its cancellation, Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood stands as a fascinating example of the PlayStation's ambitious licensed games that almost were. Proof that creative vision, developer passion, and licensed character potential couldn't always overcome business realities and technical limitations. This was innovation through ambition, realised while never released, but previewed across 1998 and 99 during the PlayStation's licensed game boom. New Level Software didn't deliver safe 2D platformers or a simple 3D conversion. They tried to create a genuinely ambitious adventure, blending character switching mechanics, puzzle solving, and combining authentic Mike Judge voice work with diverse Hollywood movie set exploration, mixing cooperative single-player gameplay with trademark Beavis and Butthead destructive humour across its various productions and locations, controllable speech systems allowing contextual vocalizations, environmental interactions rewarding experimentation. The creative vision represents a genuine artistic ambition, choosing full 3D elements over a safe 2.5D approach. Building character switching puzzles required strategic thinking, creating movie set premises justifying environmental variety, and securing various collaborations for authentic representation, attempting innovative license adaptation rather than generic cash grabs. These decisions created distinctive identities, separating projects from typical movie tie-in territory. The game honoured the source material's chaotic spirit while pursuing meaningful gameplay innovation. Was it finished? Absolutely not. The February 1999 preview listed a 40% completion rate, accurate assessment given frozen development state. The technical inexperience showed throughout. Performance issues in complex areas, primitive physics requiring work, incomplete puzzle implementation, rough control refinement. The business pressures proved insurmountable. New levels saw for running out of funds and shutting down at the end of 1998 didn't help. The ambitious scope exceeded the small team's capabilities within timeline and budget constraints. But here's what truly matters. Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood represents why preservation efforts remain essential decades after games vanish. While the industry focuses on ship products and commercial successes, countless ambitious projects like this disappeared into obscurity, taking development lessons, creative visions and historical context with them. These prototype builds, rescued through dedicated preservation work and generous contributors, document small studio realities, licensed game economics, PlayStation era development processes, and creative ambitions that business pressures simply couldn't support. For licensed game enthusiasts, it offered a genuinely interesting adaptation, approaching combining character-driven mechanics with environmental variety. For those interested in gaming business realities, it provided a cautionary tale about contractor vulnerabilities, publisher relationships, and financial pressures. For preservation advocates, it demonstrated a successful recovery of important lost media with proper documentation and historical context. These recently preserved builds let modern players experience this lost adventure, accepting era-appropriate incompleteness and appreciating frozen in time development snapshots. It requires emulation setup or modified hardware, understanding you're playing about 40% of the complete prototype rather than a finished game, and valuing historical significance over polished gameplay. The reward is witnessing creative vision that almost became a reality, understanding development challenges through preserved developer honesty, and experiencing a piece of PlayStation history rescued from permanent obscurity. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into one of the PlayStation's most fascinatingly incomplete lost treasures, then be sure to like, hype and subscribe as we continue this exploration of these unreleased gems, cancelled projects and preserved prototypes that reveal the incredible stories behind games that never made it to store shelves. Also be sure to drop a comment below sharing your thoughts of Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood and the PlayStation's lost licensed games. Did you read those magazine previews back in 98 and 99? What other unreleased PlayStation prototypes deserve deeper examination? How important is game preservation for understanding industry history? I'd love to hear your memories of these anticipated games that never arrived, and your thoughts on preservation efforts bringing lost treasures back from obscurity. Also be sure to check out my Patreon page if you are interested in supporting the channel, as we'll be diving deeper behind the scenes into many of these lost artifacts within the PlayStation's history. In the meantime, keep exploring, keep discovering, chase those lost prototypes, celebrate preservation efforts, honour gaming's complete history, and as always, keep those gaming memories alive.